and cream cheese on toast. I ran out of bagels. I woke up this morning with a earache and chills, which is very unusual for me. It's very unusual. So after I have my coffee, I will do a sinus flush. I'll do a sinus flush, and I'll flush my ears and my throat and everything with peroxide, with 3% peroxide. So, hey Lily, how you doing? I hope you had a nice Easter. So, I'm having orange marmalade, which was my father's choice as far as jams and jellies. So, believe me, it's an acquired taste. I don't like it when it has too much orange rind in it. Yeah, I had a good sleep. I woke up right on time to take my medicine. I'm grateful that my body recognizes the need for me to, have that medicine, and it gets up pretty much automatically. The coffee pot will turn off in a second, that noise will stop. So, there's a lot going on in the world. There's a lot going on in the world. I hope you all are keeping ready. So, there's a lot going on with Israel and Mother Bear Country, and we're not being told very much of it on the regular media. You have to go to places like Canadian Prepper or Grand Supreme News Channel or Redacted. Louis at Grand Supreme News Channel has a speech impediment, but he does a good job with the news, So I know he probably gets made fun of, so I don't look at the comments too much on his channel. But he is a smart guy. Like I said, even with the speech impediment, that doesn't throw me at all. I don't judge people like that. My brother and I uh, both went to an audiologist when we were young because we were quiet. And the reason we were quiet was that, for one thing, we were being abused by my father. And my father had been abused terribly. And believe me, that stuff flowed downhill, even as a toddler. And he couldn't help it. He always had this. He always had this anger that was bubbling just underneath. And my mother had had an operation where they took out a goiter on her throat. And back then, they didn't push the muscles aside. They just slit your throat and took everything out. And when my brother and I were little, my mother would whisper to us. And so we weren't used to a lot of noise or anything like that. We were both very quiet. My brother was a pacifist, and he is a pacifist. And he kind of goes with the flow on everything. I was the type of child that my father literally almost beat me to death one time in order to get his point across. He punched me in the face. I was 11 years old, punched me in the face. And then, hey, Joanne. And he knocked me down the basement stairs, then stood over top of me and beat me like we were in a bar fight, just pounded the jeepers out of me. I gotta move things around a little bit. So, hey, Allison, how's Alaska doing? What temperature is it in Alaska? Is it warm or cold or what? I hear that Alaska is quite beautiful. So, and who is governor of Alaska now? Because back when it was that lady running for vice president with John McCain, I think she probably would have been a good president if she had had a chance. It's 2 degrees. Ouch. Is that centigrade or Fahrenheit? Is that 2 degrees centigrade or Fahrenheit? Fahrenheit. Oh, okay. So that's not too bad then. Sorry for doing everything in front of the camera. So I got some cream for my coffee out of the freezer, and they say it doesn't make any difference, you know, but really it does. The cream glumps up into this rather unappetizing, you know. Well, the bagel is something that I can tolerate early in the morning. I don't really do meat. So let me have a swig of this coffee. I filled it up too high. Even with the cream not looking too nice, it still made a good cup of coffee. So, and I've already spilled on the new shirt you all got me. So, It's not too early. It's not too late. It's like 5:30 where I am. And like I said, I slept like a log last night. And my dreams are very vivid. And usually it's going back trying to fix something that I regret not having taken care of. Like a situation at a job or something like that. And one of my most frequent dreams lately is having a car with bad brakes. And I'll tell you, the good Lord blessed me one time because I had this massive Ford LTD and it had the dual chamber safety brake system. And I rolled up on a friend at his house, pulled up, and he was standing in front of his car. And so we stopped and talked. And then later, when I got out on the highway on Route 28, the brakes went out totally. Pedal went all the way to the floor, which is not supposed to happen with the dual chamber safety system. So I had to use the emergency brake pedal to stop the car. But can you imagine if I'd rolled up on my friend and the brakes had failed at that time? It would have mushed him right in between both cars. I still think that was a miracle of God. I'm the same way about my coffee. I got to have my cup of coffee in the morning. A strong cup of tea doesn't do it for me. It's got to be coffee. When I was a kid, we were allowed to drink coffee. We were allowed to smoke. But my father would beat you to death if you cursed or drank. So when I was 11, my father was drinking this ice cold beer, and he was always worried about becoming an alcoholic, but he had ruined his stomach when he was a young man. So he had to be very careful about what he ate and what he drank. But in any case, he asked me if I'd like a taste of his beer, a sip of his beer. And being a young smart aleck, I grabbed that cup and I drank as much of the beer down before he grabbed it back away from me. And it was cold and it was salty and very refreshing. And the problem was after that, if I was thirsty, I didn't want a soda pop. I wanted a beer. So fam, if you don't want your kids to grow up and have an alcohol problem, don't give it to them. Don't even give them a sip. Because that sip that my father gave me on that blazing hot summer day, that turned out to be a problem for me. And then one day the good Lord took the cigarette smoking and the drinking, just took it away. Both at the same time. Haven't needed it, haven't wanted it. everyone was worried about the Pope because he was in the hospital. If you remember, try to keep Tom at Watchman River in your prayers because he has the flu. And if you've never been to Watchman River, he's got an awesome channel. Just awesome. Boy, I'm doing a good job of messing up this new shirt. I'll have it messed up in just a few minutes. Well, the reason, if you think my stories are inspiring, that they're inspiring because I can look back on my life and see the hand of God taking care of me. I'm not enjoying this whole clogged up ear thing, though. It kind of makes things awkward for me, but it's another trial that I'll get through. I'll tell you, this coffee is really good this morning. I like it hot. I misplaced my Lucky Justin cup. I don't know what I did with it. I'm sure it'll pop up sooner or later. So I made another channel yesterday called Only in Clown World. And I got to make sure nobody else is using that handle because I want to do a newscast on all the wacky news that's going on in this world. So the Kardashians had Atlas Company build them a BOMB shelter. So the rich elites must know something is coming down the pike. And it seems like the Iron Eagle, which is us, is ticking off pretty much every country all around the world. They want to get rid of Putin, but they don't understand that if they do, that anybody who replaces him is going to be much more inclined to push the button than Vladimir has been. Vladimir has been very patient considering, and that author that that claimed that the United States was responsible for the Nord Stream pipeline thing. CNN interviewed him, and he said his source was anonymous, and he only had one source, old guy like me, and he seemed very scatterbrained while CNN was interviewing him. Yeah, and the problem is he laid the blame for Nord Stream right at the bottom of the feet of America with no evidence. Doesn't this man understand that if the rest of the world were to take him to heart, that would make them more inclined to push the button and fry a whole bunch of innocent people? But no, this guy's interested in getting back into the limelight. That's his top priority. You know, it just makes no sense at all with these people that they don't they don't understand the consequences that their words have. And these people that leaked all of this military information this week. See, back in my day, they would execute a person for that. Oh yes, back in the 50s, that couple, that man and that woman that sold the secret of the BOMB to the bear country, they took them out and they electrocuted them or they hanged them, one or the other. I forget which it was, but they took them right out and executed them. That was a different America that didn't play around back then. If you did something treasonous, but now we have all these politicians that are making mistakes right and left, and all they got to say is I'm sorry or blame somebody else, and they keep right on keeping on, uh, collecting their salary and making more mistakes. The guy from Popular Preparedness did an excellent video on all these train derailments lately, and believe me, I think that he should get Pete Buttigieg's money because he really did his homework on the whys and hows of train derailments. And they've had so many of those lately. I don't believe for 1 minute that it's by accident. You know, I think somebody is sabotaging stuff in this country to lay the groundwork for something bigger. So, especially especially um, those people that are whistleblowing and all the telling secrets and stuff. See, if America had to fight WW2 again, we couldn't win this time, because back in my day when they had the Manhattan Project and all of that, people who were sworn to secrecy, kept their mouth shut. But nowadays, when somebody learns a secret, they got to rush out and tell the whole world because their vanity wants everybody to know that they were the first to know. The heck with the consequences of telling everybody that it weakens a nation and puts people at risk. But we live in a foolish day and age We live in a foolish day and age. I watch these people on some of these mukbang channels that eat these enormous amounts of food, and then they eat these enormous amount of food, and then they say they have to hold on to the food for 10 minutes before, bringing it back up. That's a horrible thing to do, wasteful and decadent and everything else. And you figure now that a third of the world is starving. Used to be a fourth of the world is starving. Now a third of the world is starving. Many more people, even in America now. And when God judged Sodom and Gomorrah, he didn't just judge them for sexual sin, he judged them for eating deliciously and not giving any to the poor. So we're right there, America. I mean, we're doing everything that we possibly can to spit in the face of God. Stuff to take away the innocence from young children. Young children are being taught stuff that I never even knew about. When I came up, I didn't know what the F word was. I didn't know what a zit was. We weren't allowed to talk like that. But then, of course, my parents put me out when I was 15 years old, locked the door behind me, and left the country on vacation because they cared so much for me. You know, my whole life I heard, well, Will will be okay. Will's going to be okay. We put him out of the house 15 years old with the shirt on his back, and that was it. And thank God I had people that helped me. I had other people that hurt me, but God always sent somebody to help me. Listen, fam, I'm gonna get back in bed and snuggle my covers for a little bit longer now that my coffee has hit bottom. And I appreciate our special time together. And remember, I love you, but God loves you more. Pop, pop out.